Hey guys, welcome to Digit.in, and what we have for you here is our review of the Xbox Series X, Microsoft's gaming console that's taking on the PlayStation 5. Now, we have had this console for about 2 months and we've spent a lot of time gaming on it, and we're going to tell you whether this console is worth your hard-earned money. And if you want to know our comparison with the PlayStation 5, you're going to have to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to know when we upload that one, so you are ready to watch it when we've uploaded it. So let's get started with the review of this little beast. And the reason that I say it's a beast is because of its form factor. If you see the PS5, it may be slightly slimmer and taller, but it is longer in depth, and it kind of has a different mechanism for cooling. Both these consoles are whisper quiet. So for all the time that we've gamed on this console, we have noticed a lot of warm air coming up from the top, but it's pulling all that in from the back out here, and it gives you a whisper quiet experience. There's not once where we thought this console was loud, but then again, we've been gaming mostly in the Delhi winters, so we are going to wait for the summers to see what the thermal dissipation of this console looks like. Having said that, the fact that everything vents out from the top may be a bit of a bummer in case this is right below your TV and you don't want all that hot air to hit your TV. That's just a concern, but there is a small vent at the back out here as well that pushes the hot air out. Unlike the PS5, for this console to lay it on its side, all you need to do is this. That's it. It doesn't have the best orientation when you put it on its side, of course. It looks best when you leave it up like this little monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey, but it actually does get the job done quite well when kept in this orientation, and it has a few rubber feet out here to know which side you want to keep it on. Coming to the connectivity options, there is a USB port on the front, you have the power button up top, you have two USB ports at the back, you have an Ethernet port, an HDMI port, and a specific expansion slot where, of course, those cards as of recording this aren't available in India, but you can expand the storage by simply slotting in an expansion out here, where what Microsoft says is the expansion storage has the same capabilities as the built-in SSD, so you really don't need to move your games back and forth from the internal drive. However, a great advantage of the Xbox Series X is the fact that if a game is mastered for the Series X, you can actually copy it to an external drive, but when you want to play the game, you can actually copy it back to the console, and that ensures that you really aren't deleting a game and then re-downloading it. So your library can stay put. You can play your backwards compatible library of games off an external drive. If you can see, we have a small thumb drive connected out here, which we are using to capture footage when we are gaming. So you can simply hit the capture button, and if you have an external pen drive for your gameplay, you can record up to 1 hour of gameplay, which is nice, and it gets saved directly to the external storage. So overall, when it comes to the build and design of this console, it is very minimalistic. It has a PC tower-like look, and I actually kind of like it because it kind of blends into my entertainment system. Nobody looks at it twice, and it's just there, silently powering all your games. Of course, Microsoft has added this nice green aesthetic, which you can see from the vents up top. It is actually a green plastic plate kind of a thing. It isn't green LED, but once the console is on and the fan is running from a certain angle, it does look like it's a green LED, which is kind of cool when you're up close to the console, but you can't see it from up far. You really need to be at a particular angle or up top to see it. One of the biggest changes Microsoft has done is with the controller, and these big changes are so subtle that you only know it when you go back and forth between an old controller and a new controller. Physically, you have a share button, which isn't anything new. It can help you share your gameplay captures or your videos based on how you can set it up. It has a new D-pad, which kind of has this dish-like design, which was fun to use in a game like Mortal Kombat, for example, especially when you compare it to the DualSense controller on the PS5. But one of the more important changes is at the back, because now you get a textured grip at the back, and the triggers also have a bit of a texture to them along with the bumpers out here. So it's a very familiar feeling when you are gaming with this controller, with all the changes in the right places. Now, when it comes to the grip and the textures, you really need to switch between the two controllers to know how much of a difference it makes, because it kind of just fits right in. Microsoft has also said that they've changed the ergonomics a little bit so that this fits in more hands. It fit perfectly for me, so I'm not complaining. The only downside here is we're still stuck with AA batteries, which honestly, you are going to want to invest in the Play and Charge kit, because that way you can, connect it to a battery pack, which is sold separately. However, what I do if in the middle of the night I lose battery, I just remove the AA batteries and I connect it via a USB-C port to a power bank, and I'm good to game because I may not have spare batteries lying around. So while the DualSense has gone a step further with its adaptive triggers and haptic feedback and a built-in microphone, Microsoft has played it similar. Now, as of recording this, we know that Microsoft has sent out a survey to its gamers to know whether they would want adaptive trigger-like features and haptic feedback on their controller. And my answer to that question is yes, absolutely yes, because those features are actually game-changing. And I can't wait to see what it would be like in a game like Gears of War when you are chainsawing someone, or when you are, shooting those different guns in that game. That's one game where I really think adaptive triggers could work well. Even in a game like Forza, for example, where, you'd face the resistance because on a game like Dirt 5 on the PS5, we have felt the adaptive triggers give you different resistance based on the surface you are driving on. So that experience is definitely something that we are looking forward to if Microsoft implements it. If not, this is a traditional controller with a if it ain't broke, we're not going to fix it kind of policy, and we're okay with that. Moving over to the UI. Now this is where upgrading to the Xbox Series X feels more like upgrading a PC, because when you plug in this new console, everything runs faster, everything looks prettier, but the UI is identical to what we had on the Xbox One during the end of the Xbox One's life cycle. So it's very familiar. You know exactly where what settings are, where your games are housed, how to update them, how to copy them to an external source, how to get your media streaming apps, which is great. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Microsoft's UI, but I've kind of grown used to using it. I prefer the, PlayStation UI with its horizontal tiles and things in certain places. With Microsoft, I feel you have a few more steps you need to take to get to where you want to go. And that can get a little annoying, but again, that's personal preference. I think the UI definitely needs a rehaul, and if that rehaul comes in time, it'll be great. Now, moving over to the games, Microsoft may have banked a little too much on Halo Infinite, which has of course been delayed to 2021. But the fact remains that when you log into your Xbox, you have a lot of games to play. You have Gears, Falconeer, Devil May Cry, Dirt 5, Call to the Sea, if I'm getting the name right, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. All of these have been optimized to play on the Series X and take advantage of everything the Series X has to offer. And it is with legacy content that Microsoft is a lot more successful than the PlayStation 5. And I have found that simply because of a service like Game Pass, I've ended up spending more time on my Xbox than my PlayStation, simply because of the volume of games I have access to. We're going to get to that in a bit. Now, speaking of performance, you are getting games like Gears of War and even Ori in all its 4K glory with HDR. Some of the games even support Dolby Atmos. Remember, the Xbox, unlike the PlayStation, the Xbox supports Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. So if you're going to be streaming content of Netflix or the Apple TV app on this console, know that you're getting the best experience possible, because on the PlayStation you do not get Dolby Vision and Atmos. You do get HDR and Sony's own 3D surround sound. Now, coming to the performance with the games, like I was saying, it is because of Game Pass that makes this a more value for money proposition than the PlayStation. Hear me out. You aren't going to get the exclusives like God of War, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Demon's Souls, Ratchet & Clank, Ghost of Tsushima on this console. But Microsoft has built a very strong foundation. Over the past few years, they have acquired so many studios, the recent and the biggest one being ZeniMax, which is the mother company of developers and publishers like Bethesda, id, and so many more. So games like Elder Scroll, the new Star Citizen, if I'm getting that name right, Doom, all these games now come under Microsoft's portfolio. Even for your cinematic story-driven games like Hellblade: Senua's Saga, which was shown off when this console was revealed, is going to be an Xbox exclusive because Ninja Theory is now a part of Microsoft. So they've laid the foundation. We also know that the Perfect Dark remake is coming from Microsoft's exclusive studios. So the exclusives are coming and they are pretty big. But where Microsoft has succeeded is with Game Pass and legacy content. All the way from the original Xbox, the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One, there is a large catalog of backwards compatible games which are a part of your Game Pass subscription. So I'm going to give you an example. Alan Wake was a game that I missed out on during the Xbox 360 generation. It popped up on Game Pass, and one weekend when I was free, I was like, hey, let me give it a shot. Gears Tactic is probably a game I would never have touched because I'm not the biggest fan of, top-down turn-based strategy games. But because it was on Game Pass, I started playing it and I actually started enjoying it. Similarly, there are so many more games that I found on Game Pass that I may not have otherwise gone out and purchased, but because they were right there in front of me, I downloaded them, I enjoyed them. If they were ever going off Game Pass, I purchased them at a discount to keep them in my library. Else, I was happy that I played them for a while. There are so many AAA games that have come on Game Pass. You've had The Witcher, you've had GTA 5, you've had the Ori games, you've had Microsoft first-party games, all the Halo games, DMC has come, Mortal Kombat has come. There are just so many games that are there on Game Pass. More than 100 games are available right now for you to try out from the get-go for a mere around 850 rupees a month, including all the taxes. So let's do the maths on Game Pass. If you subscribe for Game Pass every month, you're paying about 10,000 rupees a year. 10,000 rupees a year, with the new price of games being about 4,000 to 5,000 rupees, which means you could purchase probably 3 games at launch in a year for the same price as getting to play more than 100 games on this console. And those games are no slouch, all Microsoft first-party games. So when Halo Infinite launches, you don't need to spend 4,000 or 5,000 rupees on that game. If you are a Game Pass subscriber, you get that game on launch day. Now imagine Microsoft Studios and all those games coming here at launch. The console does claim to do 4K at 60 FPS and even 120 FPS mode, and from what, of course, better people at Digital Foundry have said, that the consoles do struggle to hit 120 FPS in a game like, let's say, DMC. But you do have smaller games like Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which can run really smooth at 120 FPS. We, of course, have an LG B9 OLED, which does support 120 FPS, and we've tried this on the TV and it works absolutely well. This console also supports all the features of HDMI 2.1 from the get-go, a very important one being VRR, which is variable refresh rate, so you don't see screen tearing, a feature which is missing from the PlayStation 5. So, to sum up, it's really easy to recommend the Xbox Series X for 50,000 rupees if you can get your hands on it, because the cost of games really does go down because of something as simple as Game Pass. Once you have Game Pass Ultimate, if you have a gaming laptop, when xCloud comes to India, you'll be able to play your Xbox games anywhere you go. And the best part is, if you're a PC gamer, you can still subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate and enjoy your games over there. And maybe if you want a console in the future, you can get one and your saves are synced across all platforms. So the best part was, all I did from the Xbox One was copy all my games to an external hard drive, plug the external hard drive into this one, copied the native Xbox Series X mastered games to the internal drive, and I was literally ready to go from my save point. No hassle like the PlayStation where I have to upload it to the cloud, manually download it, blah, 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 blah. None of that stuff. It's simple plug and play and it really works. So yes, while a lot of people will argue that Xbox is lacking PlayStation-like exclusives, you can't argue with that. It's a fact. However, what Microsoft has done is democratized gaming to make it more affordable, because once you've crossed the initial investment cost of 50,000 rupees, for a mere 800 rupees a month or 850 rupees a month, you are getting a library of some of the best games. Sure, you want a third-party game, you can always go and buy one like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I spent 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees on Assassin's Creed, but when I don't want to play that, I have more than 100 games waiting for me. PlayStation, on the other hand, has PlayStation Collections, which has a mere 20 games with its subscription. But then again, PlayStation Plus is a mere 3,000 rupees a year if you take the annual subscription. But the value for money proposition works in Microsoft's favor. I really can't wait to see what Microsoft's first-party studios have in store for us in maybe 2022 or 2023, when all those juicy exclusives that the studios are working on are going to come to this platform, including whatever is next from Double Fine, whatever is next from Bethesda, whatever is next from the guys that made Forza, and there is a secret studio, of course, working out of Santa Monica, which we now know is working on Perfect Dark. So the point is, there is no better time to be a gamer. If you are still skeptical, you can check out the Series S, which is a less powerful console, which in my opinion, Microsoft may have stumbled a little bit over there. But considering that that is also running on the AMD Zen 2 architecture for the CPU and has a 4 teraflop GPU, the baseline is a lot higher than it was in the previous generation. So that could be a 1080p gaming machine. Of course, there are a lot of games that don't even hit 1080p on the Xbox Series S right now. So the longevity of that console does come into question. Also the fact that that has half the storage as this one. This one comes with a 1 terabyte storage inside, where you get a little more than 800 GB for your use of games, but you can connect an external hard drive and copy your Series X optimized games to the hard drive, and then of course copy it back, like I said, when you need to. The point being, if you have a 4K TV, even if you have a 1080p TV, games on this console look great. The PS5 and the Series X, both of them are at par and comparable with third-party games with minimalistic difference. For the layperson, you wouldn't know which console you're playing on if you didn't know what you were looking for. And I have tried that with people. Played the same games on both the consoles and they didn't know which was which unless they saw the controller mapping on screen. So there you have it, guys. That was our review of the Xbox Series X. If you are a gamer and you want to be on a budget, this is of course a better proposition than the PS5. But if you are looking for those PS5 exclusives, then nothing beats that console. Of course, the controller is definitely a game changer in Sony's favor. But if you would like to know an in-depth comparison of both the consoles, stay tuned as we have that coming up on the channel. And as always, if you have any questions about this console, you can let us know in the comment section below and we will do our best to answer them. Remember, the Xbox Series X also has a very powerful SSD. It may not have the same speeds as the PS5, but it is very fast in a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It was 10 to 15 seconds of waiting. In some games, it is a mere 2-3 seconds. Like in Gears, it is almost no waiting to come back from death or a load screen back to the main game. So games load really fast. Like I said, if you have any questions, you can let us know in the comment section below. And for more from the world of technology, you can subscribe to our channel. We will see you in another video. It's goodbye for now.